Hi, Dr. Al Benthal here at Benthal Test Prep, and I wanted to make this brief video to answer a question I've been getting a lot lately from parents and students. And the question goes something like this. Dear Dr. Benthal, I hear that colleges and universities are dropping the SAT and ACT this fall because of COVID-19 test cancellations. Does this mean my child should skip the SAT or ACT? That's a great question. And I'll answer it quickly by saying, no, you should not skip the SAT or ACT, even though some of these schools have gone test optional, as they say, okay? Let me first explain why people are confused. When you see these headlines that say such and such a university has dropped the SAT or ACT, that does not mean they've dropped the test altogether and they're not going to consider it. It simply means they've dropped the requirement. Okay, and that brings up this question about test optional schools versus test blind schools. Okay, test optional means that the school will strongly consider your SAT score or your ACT score as part of a competitive application. This whole movement started about 15 years ago when some colleges and universities cracked the door a little bit to allow students to submit applications without an SAT or ACT score, and they were thinking, let's increase our diversity on campus. Let's allow students from various backgrounds, perhaps underprivileged backgrounds, to submit an application without standardized test scores. The thinking was, perhaps these students don't even have access to the SAT or ACT in their high schools for whatever reason. Could be financial pressures, could be academic pressures that would cause them to have exceptionally low scores. And so they wanted to give these students a chance and to submit high GPAs, good college essays, strong extracurriculars, strong application letters, and they just might accept some of these students. But for the rest of the students applying, SAT scores and ACT scores were still part of a competitive application, business as usual, and that continues to the present day in test optional schools. The other side of the coin is test blind, and that's what parents sometimes think this means. They've dropped it, well, they must not be considering it anymore. That's not true. When a school goes test blind, that means yes, they are not going to consider the SAT at all. At this point, only one college in America does that, and that is Hampshire College in Massachusetts. Even if you submit a perfect score, SAT or ACT, they will not look at it. Okay, so that's what test blind means. Most of these schools are test optional. That means strongly considering the SAT or ACT, but for students who don't submit scores, they will consider them. Okay, so that's what these two terms mean. When you see the word drop SAT score, or drop requirement, it means test optional most of the time. Okay, so if you want to be competitive, submit those scores. I would urge you to use this quarantine time to double down on good test prep, get those scores up, apply to even more competitive colleges and universities, and go after those big scholarships. So I hope this clarifies the issue for you a bit. I hope everyone stays safe and well. Happy studying.